What's up, everyone? It's Jamie Hush. New Year's coming. 2020 is going to be hitting here in a couple weeks. So I thought I'd take some time and work through some of my goals, take a look at what I did last year, where I went wrong, where I went well, and start putting together some plans for 2020. So when I speak to a lot of people, they don't like writing New Year's resolutions. And it's oftentimes because I'll hear excuses like, oh, I don't want to let myself down. Oh, I should be working on goals all the time. What I really like about the new year happening is it gives you a date set in stone to really think about what happened before and how things could get better in the future. One of the best ways I've found to accomplish the things I really want out of life is as simple as just writing them down and making small steps of progress towards them. So I'm going to start by talking about some of the resolutions I had last year, how well I did on those resolutions, and then talk about some of the resolutions I'm planning for myself next year. My first New Year's resolution was to take 50 online Chinese lessons. Now, notice that goal. It's very actionable and very in my control. I didn't say my resolution was to learn Chinese because there's too many variables. I still had to do research to figure out how long it would take. And notice the number I picked. I picked 50 very specifically because that's one Chinese lesson a week with 2 weeks of a buffer in case I'm sick or I don't want to do it. I do that on purpose. I'll set really low quotas for myself so that way I don't get discouraged. I got this idea because back in the 60s and 70s, IBM had one of the best sales teams in the tech industry. And their secret was they actually, instead of setting people's sales quotas really high, they set the salespeople's quotas low on purpose. So that way salespeople wouldn't be discouraged and would be more likely to pick up the phone. Instead of near the end of the month or the end of the quarter saying, oh, I'm not even close to my target, I'm not even going to try, they'd say, well, I'm really close to my target, might as well pick up the phone and try to get some more sales in. And that was actually really positive for the business. And so I tried to do the same thing to myself, which I picked that number. Looking back, did I hit the goal? Yes. Not only did I hit this goal, I absolutely crushed it. And that's because instead of just doing one lesson a week, I did about 4 to 5 lessons a week for the first few months, and then kind of dropped down to about 3 or 4 lessons a week. And until finally this month, I've been spending extra time learning Spanish instead of Chinese because I'm heading to Spain in a few weeks. So I cut that down to 1 a week. But this was great. I went from not being able to count to 3 to being able to have a 5-minute conversation with my roommate's dad last night, 100% in Chinese. So I'm really happy about that. I'm really proud of that. And I want to keep working on that over the next year. My next goal, which I had written down from last year, was to post 1 YouTube video a week. And if you take a look at my account, I definitely did not do that. It's funny too, because I ended up filming one on my first week, but I realized that recording and writing these videos is actually a little bit trickier than I thought and a little bit more time consuming than I thought. And I ended up getting discouraged, and I only ended up posting about a few videos early on in the year. However, for next year, I'm developing a new strategy. After following Gary Vaynerchuk a lot on social media, I noticed his trick was he would do these long form pieces of content, split them up into smaller pieces, and then post each one of those. And then going into 2020, that's actually how I'm going to focus on it. So I'm going to keep this goal the same. I'm going to keep it post 1 video a week. But instead of writing a script and setting up the camera and fixing the lighting and doing the editing for each individual video, I've already pre-scheduled about 10 video clips from some talks I've done in the past. So that will keep me honest. That will keep me the 1 video a week target goal without putting the pressure on myself to make an absolute new video every single week. I'm going to be able to repurpose old content that isn't getting very much views, isn't getting very much traffic for here. My final goal was to work out twice a week this year, and I did a great job on this one too. So I found the trick for myself, And the trick for myself was I noticed I have a hard time letting other people down, but I'll let myself down all the time. Like letting myself down is the easiest thing in the world. What I mean by that is I would tell myself I'd work out in the morning, but then not actually go. I'd be like, oh, whatever. So the trick for me for the gym has been getting the personal trainer. I have a great personal trainer. It's not cheap, but having that person who I know I'm his first client in the morning, so I don't want him to wake up and go to the gym, even though I'm still paying him either way. I feel bad if he wakes up and goes for no reason. So that's actually been the main motivation for me to go. And this year I kicked it up. Instead of doing twice a week, I consistently went about 3 times a week every single week this year. So I'm going to carry that through into 2020. All right, so I mentioned I went through some of my 2019 goals. Now it's time to look at some 2020 goals. This time I've split it up into 4 different categories: music, languages, career, and health. On the music side, my 2 big goals is number 1, release this Invirtue album. So we spent about the last year writing and recording an album for my band Invirtue, and it sounded great. It's about December 2019 right now. We've tracked pretty much everything minus some keyboard parts and doing some drum edits, but we're like really close to having all of this all tracked. Right now what I'm working on is a marketing plan and just an overall 2020 plan for Invirtue in general. That's also what I like to do. Instead of just writing goals for myself, I'll write goals for the projects that I'm working on too. And later on, I think I'll post a video showing kind of how I wrote goals for the band, how I kind of delegate the tasks, and more importantly, how I get buy-in from other people in the band. Because it's not my band, I'm not the boss, I'm not paying anyone, but getting people to do stuff when they have no reason to do it and no reason to listen to you is an art in itself. My next music goal is to practice at least 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week. Now this is the lowest hanging music goal I could possibly think of. I found myself not practicing bass as much as I would like. And instead of beating myself up for not practicing like 2 hours a day every day, I thought I would use the same trick I used for learning Chinese last year, which is set a really, really low goal that's pretty much impossible for me to screw up. And that way I won't feel discouraged throughout later in the year. This is especially important with this album release because I still need to learn to play the bass parts on a bunch of the songs on this album. I've learned about 4 of the songs. I need to learn, I think, about 6 or 7 more. On the language learning side of things, I'm going to keep the same goal, do 50 Mandarin Chinese lessons this year. I'm going to try to keep it up about 3 or 4 a week, but I'm going to keep it kind of low so that way I don't get myself discouraged. But this year, I will introduce a stretch goal that kind of crosses between music and Chinese. And the stretch goal is I want to record a cover song of me singing at least 1 Chinese song by the end of the year. So this is on the music side because I've always wanted to record a cover of myself singing, but I've always been too nervous to do it. And it's on the Chinese side because I'll have to learn how to sing the song. So that'll give me an excuse to practice reading Chinese, practice translating, practice like getting the message out of music, practice my listening because I'll be listening to the song over and over again. I haven't decided which song. If any of you guys have any suggestions, I'm all ears. I'm leaning towards Mayday because that's a band that a few of my Chinese friends have shown me, but I'm open to anything. Okay, now on to career. I have about 3 main career goals I want to focus on. At first, I wanted to set the goal of do 1 lead code problem a week, but I realized career-wise, I don't really see myself going all in engineering in the next few years. I'm really trying to lean more towards a management kind of route. That doesn't mean to say I should be not learning more engineering stuff, but I'm just not sure spending the time on lead code is the best use of my time, especially since I freaking hate doing lead code problems. But I do understand if my goal was to get a job at Facebook or Google or Netflix or Amazon, one of those top companies, drilling LeetCode would definitely be the best use of my time, because the only way to get into those companies outside of being really close friends with a manager and wiggling your way in through a contract is by doing those algorithm questions. Instead, I'm going to really take a page out of Gary Vee's book and focus really on my strengths and try to 10x those. So my number one strength so far has been public speaking. I'm still not particularly amazing at it though. So this year I want to get a private coach to help me with public speaking. I have some ideas of who I would reach out to. Luckily, my company gives me an education budget, so I can spend some of that cash on that coach. So that's going to be the first goal, is get a private coach for public speaking. Second goal, which is kind of creative, kind of career, is post one video a week on YouTube, which ties into the public speaking, because getting better at public speaking will allow me to do more public speaking opportunities, will give me more video content, which I then can cut up and post on here. So I want to do one video a week on YouTube and continue doing one posting a week on LinkedIn. Speaking of LinkedIn, I've had really great success posting on LinkedIn. The amount of organic reach you can get on LinkedIn is pretty crazy. And I think it's because there's a huge difference between the percentage of people who are just reading and consuming content on LinkedIn and the percentage of people actually posting and creating content. My theory is I still think there's a bit of a stigma where if your boss sees you posting a lot on LinkedIn, he'll think you're trying to get another job. So I think that's preventing a lot of people from even liking or celebrating or doing any sort of engagement on any LinkedIn content. However, just from the little experiment I've been doing of posting on LinkedIn every single week, I've been getting a lot of feedback in real life and over text or Facebook Messenger about the content I've been going out. So I know I'm getting reach. I have a feeling the number of views on a LinkedIn video is a bit exaggerated, similar to the number of views on a Facebook video, where I'm pretty sure they consider a view someone literally just scrolling through your video. But I'm going to keep cross-posting content on LinkedIn and YouTube, really focus the career stuff on LinkedIn and more of the music things on YouTube. Now for health, I have 3 main goals. First one, I'm going to bump my fitness goal to working out 3 times a week. I've been consistent about working out 3 times a week this year, but I want to just bump it up from 2 to make sure I keep doing it. Also, I'm going to put in the fitness goal of buying a pair of running shoes and actually trying to run once a week. So I've been telling myself I'd be doing more running and more cardio, and I just haven't pulled the trigger yet, but this is the year I'm going to pull the trigger on that as well. My next goal is to stop drinking any alcohol on any night that's a school night. And what I mean by a school night is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. I've been pretty good at this so far over the last few months. I did Sober October this year, and usually the momentum from Sober October caused me to stop drinking a bit more in November. Ideally, I want to cut down my alcohol consumption to 0 or almost 0, because I found there's just too many downsides for me personally for drinking. It's expensive. It's really cutting into my time that I can spend creating more content, being productive and doing things on the weekends. And at the end of the day, most of my regrets have come from drinking a bit too much and saying something stupid. I already kind of say stupid stuff a bit too much when I'm sober, so I might as well err on the side of being sober more often. This is another example where I'm setting a low-hanging fruit goal. Instead of just saying I'm not drinking at all, I'm gonna cut it off on the school nights. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I've inspired y'all to write down some of your goals. I found that writing stuff down really is the key to getting things done. Writing it down and showing up have been the 2 biggest life hacks that I've ever done. Post some of your New Year's resolutions in the comments down below. It'd be great for us to bounce ideas each other. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.